I have no idea in the details here. Just saw that he passed away. What did Kenny Rogers pass away from?
I believe he died in hospice care at his house.
So some maybe some lingering issues there.
Died doing what he loved.
You mean being in hospice? I wasn't going to engage with this family of cats.
I mean, you'd be silly to.
Which, out of context, sure might seem weird. Me declining an internet argument with a family of British cats.
Kenny Rogers Roasters.
156.
He's doing all right. Well, I mean, the restaurant's doing all right. Jesus.
Because he's dead, right?
Is this the most insensitive Kenny Rogers tribute there's been? I'd say yes. What about you?
Well, again, I would be hard-pressed to find something that was... I don't know if rude is the right word for what we did there. But it wasn't... You know, it wasn't a eulogy that his family would have done. I'll say that.
Like, they're not playing our eulogy on CNN.
No, we're not getting the re-air of two West Michigan locals give their reminiscing thoughts on the late, great Kenny Rogers.
No, the roaster as he was called.
Now, you sent me, Steve, last week, before we get into the big issue that obviously everybody can tell, you sent me a picture. Were you, after we recorded last week, doing another in-home remembrance of Kenny Rogers? You sent me a picture of a song you were listening to. Were you guys going through the catalog last week?
Because that would have been on Saturday, and Annette and I decided to have as much of a date night as you can have during the time of the coronavirus, COVID-19, social distancing. Also, with a 6-month-old child, we decided to just stay in because we can't go out, but we made dinner, played a bunch of board games. We played Battleship.
A classic?
Yeah, classic. Yeah, it was great. And then we also we were just listening to some music on the Amazon Alexa. And I said, you know something? We got to give a tribute to the old roaster. Let's hear some Kenny Rogers. So we were rocking out to Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton and all these great songs. Just wonderful.
Now, did you also give Annette the rundown that there is 156 Kenny Rogers Roasters locations around this world?
Couldn't have been less interested. I mean, the disrespect.
What type of eulogy is just listening to a guy's music if you're not going to research the idea of how many chicken locations he had before he kicked the bucket? The chicken bucket, that is.
Right, of course. The bucket of extra tasty crispy. Oh, no, that's KFC.
That's KFC. Do you think on either side of his of Kenny Rogers' casket, in lieu of like flowers, there was just a couple of buckets of fried?
Oh, I guarantee there is. You know that there is.
I'd like to thank everybody, including our luminaries from Kenny Rogers Roasters Incorporated, for the donations here today. Everybody, have a breast, have a leg, eat up.
Yeah, you know that there has to be chicken at his graveside. I'd be shocked if there wasn't.
And this is a problem, because I have a feeling Kenny Rogers and his... I can't even call it untimely passing. He was 81. I have a feeling Kenny Rogers...
very timely.
Timely passing. Oh, good. So now we're calling his death warranted.
Well, I mean, look, it happened when people assumed it would.
Sure. Everybody was out there. Somebody's pumping their fists with the Kenny Rogers Death Lotto ticket. Mm-hmm. I don't know what kind of odds you're getting in the death lottery for an 81-year-old.
Yeah.
But Kenny Rogers had to be some pretty bad money. You're not getting a lot of interest rate on that. But I fear that Kenny Rogers and his passing have the ability to become the Larry Ferrari of 2020 for us.
Oh, boy.
Where somehow every week or every other week we end up talking Kenny Rogers. So maybe, Steve, next week you bring me a Kenny Rogers factoid.
Okay.
And then in 2 weeks, I'll bring you a Kenny Rogers factoid. And let's see how long we can keep the feathered hair wonder in our hearts.
All right, so the next time we record, I have to have a factoid ready for you.
Yeah, regarding
what time we're going to record at what, like 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, right?
Yeah, maybe a little earlier.
Siri, remind me at 9:55 a.m. on Saturday, get a Kenny Rogers factoid.
Oh, good.
Yeah, there we go. Look at that.
Boy, you're going to be super prepared then. I mean, oh, wow, look at that. You're going to be so prepared with that 5 minutes. What if we record at 9:15 and I ask you in the A bit? Because obviously, when you got a Kenny Rogers factoid, that's the A bit.
You do not put that on the back burner. That would be silly.
To peel back the curtain a little bit. You always want a little bit of a tease. You want to peel back. Open the door a crack so people can
let people peek in there. Don't let them walk in.
But if you're opening the door to a long-ass hallway that leads to nothing other than a Kenny Rogers factoid, they're not going to stick around for that.
Kenny Rogers' second job ever was working on the railroad.
Oh, is that so? And then everybody turns it off.
So it is Monday, March 30th, 2020, the year of our Lord. It's the Steve and Kyle podcast. And by now, I would assume that you have figured out that we are in different locations. We are doing our best to socially distance during this time of coronavirus, which, unfortunately, since the last time we recorded, has just done exactly what all of the experts said it would do, and it's just exploded. And pretty terrifying. Terrifying enough for me, where I sent you a text last week, and I was like, all right, we're doing this... We're doing this remotely now?
Yeah, and oh man, that was the shot though, and I'm kind of bummed. I really thought that might have been the death blow for this nightmare that's gone on for 197 weeks.
So your fingers were crossed. You're like, please, please, please let this be it.
Listen, in the negotiations of this thing, if I have to trade off that many deaths in the world to finally kill off this.
Oh, it's terrible.
Oh, I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. And here we are.
Well, honestly, I thought because later in the week, it must have been Thursday or Friday, you sent a text saying, hey, recording on Saturday is going to be a little dicey, little difficult because you had stuff going on. I was like, no problem. We had no plans for the entire weekend. And so I just said, no problem. I can record whenever. And then so when I didn't hear from you on Saturday, I didn't think anything of it. Because I even read back through the text. I was like, oh, man, I just want to make sure I read his text right. But, yeah, you said that maybe Saturday night. You had suggested maybe Friday night, but I couldn't. I was not available then. So I was like, all right, no problem. We'll record on Sunday. And then Sunday came and went. And I was a little bit worried. I mean, not worried enough to reach out to you and make sure you were okay or anything.
Sure.
Let's be honest. Wasn't really that concerned, but it's just good to say that I was. And and then I was like, it was like 8 o'clock last night. And I was like, all right, I don't think we're going to record. Maybe I'll send him a text. Nah, that's all right. So... because I knew that, like, my day was completely open today after work, so I figured, we'll be able to fit this in.
Right, yeah, and with my wife's work schedule, it would have had to been like 8 o'clock last night. Nobody wants to do that.
Not happening.
Saturday night would have been similar, but then I would have my Reed would have been in bed, so I don't know how that works if I'm down here yucking it up, telling Kenny Rogers factoids and zingers, if that wakes Reed up, or maybe Reed wants to hear that. I don't know.
Well, you don't want to wake him up from all of the uproarious laughter, that no doubt. Certainly. And he may be so enthralled with the podcast that he's like, man, I don't want to go to sleep. This is just too interesting.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's what everybody says, is this podcast refuses to allow me to sleep with as much interesting stuff as they talk about.
Yeah.
I think that's like every review on every podcast catcher that
Right.
we've gotten. So yeah, no, he there's a good chance you may hear my son read here this afternoon. He is woken up from his nap, and I hear the baby rhinoceros himself stomping around upstairs.
Very nice. Yeah, you may hear Evelyn as well too, because she, despite sleeping for 12 straight hours from like 7:30 to 7:30 or 7:15 or so,
Right.
She's somehow having a rough day. Which 12 hours of sleep. If that's not enough,
Yeah, what is?
what the hell? What is going on?
You know, Stephen, I'm glad you mentioned Evelyn. There was something we wanted to get to last week, and we didn't have time because we were really breaking down the death of our extended loved one.
Look, it's the roaster. You know, we take as much time as we need when topics of the roaster are afoot.
Honestly, Kenny Rogers is the biggest celebrity we spend a lot of time on. The other ones are who was that weirdo with the with the kids that he said come over here, teeny boppers? What was that weirdo?
Oh, that was Uncle. Oh, that was Al Alberts. Yeah,
Al Albert. The other people who we've eulogized are Al Alberts, Larry Ferrari, and Jack the grocery store manager.
Jack, R.I.P.
So we really leapt up in terms of celebrity when we decided to break down Kenny Rogers.
Yeah.
So yeah, it consumed our week, obviously, but I did not want this to go unremarked, and I think you have the audio for this, Steve, and I want to get to. You had tweeted last week that you were social distancing with some of your favorite things.
Yeah.
You looked like you were watching a concert on your television from what appears to be a homeless man who stumbled in somewhere with a guitar.
Yeah, that is all very accurate descriptions of one Griffin House.
Okay.
Yeah, he was doing
First
like
name Griffin, last name House then?
Yes,
or?
yeah.
Okay, and you think that's legally changed, or is that just the rocker name?
I believe that's his actual name.
Okay, hang on. You're going to have to hold the phone and then on that for 1 minute, because I don't believe that.
Actually, I know for a fact that's his real name. There's no doubt in my mind that that's his real name.
Well, now you're both full of S. And Griffin House, okay. Because, the Wikipedia will always have, born as or born name.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Griffin House.
So you're not pleased with that?
No, because I feel like his parents set him up to be like a... Griffin House is, I know it's a little on the nose. It feels like somebody like one of your other neighbors who should be recording their bird watching expertise in the local parks and forests.
Okay.
Not playing music. Look,
I feel like we're getting lost in the weeds a bit here.
Sorry. I did find out. Wow, named Griffin House. What a loser. Neither here nor there. But you were watching that concert.
Yeah, it's like it seems like every artist now is doing like living room concerts or streaming for a little while each day, playing some songs.
Now, was this a pay thing, or was this just jump on? We're doing a few jams for you.
It was through the website Stage It, which a lot of musicians use to do stuff like that, and I believe that I could have watched it for free, but I think you can tip them, like you can tip the artist. So I think I tipped him like $5 or $10 or something.
Did you tip and yell out Leonard or Freebird at TV then?
Freebird! No, I did not. I did not do that. But
you and I would be more likely to yell out Africa,
right? So we enjoyed that. Evelyn was sitting there enjoying the show. I had an adult beverage, you may say.
Having a few soda pops, were you, Steve?
God, I hate that. I hate that so much.
A little soda pop, a little adult beverage. Wink, wink, nod, nod.
No, I was drinking alcohol. It's okay. I'm allowed to. I'm a big boy. I'm almost 40.
Think of all the people you've offended. And in this picture, and again, you can see this on Steve's personal Twitter, no PH in Steven. Mm-hmm. It looks like Evelyn is actually the concert musician. Yeah. And Griffinhouse is, again, the hobo who stumbled onto your TV, as Evelyn looks to be mid-scream at you, maybe during the chorus of her jam.
She was enjoying it. She was bouncing around in her exerciser and just having a great time.
But again... I apologize. I got lost in the weeds here. Our friend Josh. Now, our friend Josh in Maine. This was from your personal account, and I mentioned that because I didn't see this because I don't follow you. Garbage content. Josh in Maine tweeted back at you and ended up tagging the podcast. Well, now, Josh in Maine said, "Man, I remember when my little one was just a little bit older than that." And I'm thinking, oh, wow. What a nice trip down memory lane.
Yeah, he's going to give us some the days, they sure go fast, and love her as much as blah, blah, blah.
Yep, next thing you know, you'll be seeing her off to prom, crying through your gray beard that you've no doubt refused to shave.
Right.
Then two strange men called her dad on the phone and made him yell, which made her cry, and here's where the kick happens, on a mildly popular podcast.
Oh, mildly. Come on. Did he at least say in my town's 5-block radius?
Nope. That's just in general.
Okay.
He skipped the part about popular within a 5-block radius of Steve's house. And that Steve there's no better reason to bring up because... You're familiar with the side gig audiences. I'm not saying they come and go, but it's a bit of a current, and we've gained some. I'm sure we've lost thousands. I know that from the numbers. We've lost a lot. They change. Not everybody has heard this clip. We looked back when you and I were in the APS 3.0 last week. We found this clip, and it is from May of 2017. So this is in our first calendar year of doing this podcast, and it was in the 2 minutes of awkward conversation was well in its infancy. So to dig this up, man, did it put a smile on my face. And so this is no better time than now to let any new audience revisit the time we had Josh from Maine on for 2 minutes of awkward conversation. Yeah,
and we had a small request from him at the end of our call. We basically asked him to yell out, I don't know, like the Steve and Kyle podcast is the best or something like that. I can't remember the exact terminology, but here it is.
Hey, the Steve and Kyle podcast is better than everything.
Oh,
I just scared my daughter. Nice job, guys.
Oh my God. I
need to hear it again.
Hey, the Steve and Kyle podcast is better than everything.
Oh,
I just scared my daughter.
Oh man, it was so perfect.
That was the baby's reaction to the level of noise, but I can't shake it from my low self-esteem core, Steve, that somehow she heard Steve and Kyle podcast and thought already at whatever that was, 8 months old, no thank you, and screamed out in agony at the mere mention.
We were just young bucks in the podcasting world. That was probably episode like 45 or so, thinking that we're hot to trot and we're gonna get a big podcasting gig any day now.
Any day now, you and I are gonna be.
They're gonna be calling us about the Podconies. Let's put it.
Yeah. The Podconies, which are officially on hold due to coronavirus. I don't know who to blame. Mostly Zach. A little bit to the coronavirus, but I feel like the Podconey Award still is something that will... This gives us a little more time to plan.
Yeah.
I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, and also safe to say is that the fate of our first ever live show might be in danger. Hopefully Hopefully things will be cleared up by then, but no way to tell. I guess we'll find out as the days go by and the months go by.
July. Now that's July 11th, 7-Eleven. Now obviously we're doing that 11/11 on 7-Eleven. Make your wish, and bring your free Slurpee. Doing the whole shebang in one day.
Exactly. We don't get out much, so when we do get out, we just have to wrap it all into one.
Yeah, you and I got a lot of errands to run. We've got to go get the Slurpees before we get to the live show. Then we got to make our wish, and then we got to do the whole event, which, I mean, we haven't talked about at all. But I feel like, you know, I don't want to sound like an opportunist. You know, I know it might be on the fritz. We might be able to get a cut rate deal on some venues.
You think? See, I think that they're going to be at a premium because so many weddings had to be canceled.
Right, but if it's still touch and go at that point, that kind of works in our favor because places will still be trying to refill their calendars. So you and I come in with a real lowball offer of $0, but we'll bring upwards of a dozen people.
Yeah.
And if they say no, then we throw the old, oh, okay. Well, if you're going to say no thank you to free money, to guaranteed cash, you know, this is the whole chicken restaurant in Van Wert, Ohio all over again.
Yeah, and I mean, we all see how well that worked out. We've really made them reverse their course. And, so hopefully...
Any day now we're going to be getting an apology from those idiots.
So hopefully things work out for the big broadcast. Whether it does or not, I don't know, but
right.
We'll see. Hey, I did want to bring up one thing real quick. Again, it's Monday, March 30th. This episode will be released on Tuesday, March 31st.
So we call a quick turnaround.
Do you have any idea the significance of this episode?
Of the March 31st episode? Boy, no, it's not near. It's a few weeks away from the Lost episode anniversary, a few months away from first ever official anniversary. It's a few months away from your birthday. Happy birthday, Steve.
Oh, thank you. Can't be said enough. Thank you very much.
I don't. I'm very intrigued, though. I love podcast anniversaries. Like, my favorite thing is, you know, those notifications. Like, you got one last October of make sure you have a ghost story ready for the first weekend in October. I got one last November to ask you how many doors you use in the house. These are my favorite, and obviously it's not one of those, but I love podcast versaries that I have forgotten about.
Well, the good news for you then, because it's a big one. This is the 200th time that we have sat down to record a podcast.
This is 200?
Officially, this is 200. Unofficially, it's 201. Because we did record the Lost episode, which was never technically released in its entirety because there were, first of all, you and I were just absolutely blitzed after drinking heavy amounts of adult beverages in the backyard at the old house when I was living with the landlord. And we decided to walk inside and record a 45-minute podcast at like 1 a.m. But then,
I believe we still ended up counting that, though, because in a later episode, Steve, you and I played clips from that we deemed appropriate.
Yes, but officially that episode was never released on its own in its entirety. So starting with the next episode, which we referred to as, that was episode number 1.
Right.
Yeah. So this is number 200. And the plans we had for this and how they just disappeared because of...
I still think we should do them.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it wouldn't be like us to do them in a timely manner. I mean, why would we celebrate the 200th when we could celebrate the 207th or something like that? I mean, as we all know, that's the big number.
I think you and I keep our plans, and we simply do that for, I don't know, 210, 212.
212's good, yeah. I like that.
And but really, I mean, I don't want to have the big blowout anniversary episode if you and I can't even be in the same room together.
Right, yeah, because, I mean, it's just popping the bottles of champagne is just not the same when you're by yourself.
Right, we will have to have some champagne, maybe a nice California Brut.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
maybe a celebratory, maybe a confetti popper.
Oh, that would be nice.
As we blast off the anniversary episode, then figure out what to do for the other 88 minutes as we try to kill enough time. But no, wow, Steve, that's funny because I had fallen by the wayside. Our plans that we did have, that we had been talking about 20 weeks or 20 episodes.
Yeah, easily.
And then this whole thing happens. You and I I had totally forgotten. Wow, congratulations. Our downloads have never been lower and our content's never been more mediocre.
Hey, you heard last week. We gave that great tribute to a country music legend.
That's true. We did give that memorable eulogy to crooner Kenny Rogers 1 week ago. We're at the top of our game. We're 2 weeks away, Steve. If you really want to up our content level, we are 2 weeks away from the return of a favorite of you and ours for years. I still get Facebook notifications. It's such a favorite.
What is that?
The return of Deadliest Catch, Steve.
Oh, boy, I haven't watched it in like 8 seasons.
Nah, you don't need to. It turns out they're still catching crab and they're still on the boats every winter. You're all caught up.
Still some drama up there in the Bering Sea.
Yep, you're caught up. There you go. Boom. Now you just need to jump on board. Any questions you have for the new season, you simply send me a text. Hey, who's this person?
Yeah.
I give you a quick rundown on if we like them or don't like them. Boom. We're right back in.
Can I get that on Apple TV? I mean, not Apple TV, YouTube TV.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
follow-up question. Can I get your YouTube TV login?
Ooh, boy. That's, ooh.
I think you got our Hulu one.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk.
We'll talk. I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. It'll be a discussion.
By the way, does this sound like garbage on your end, too?
No, it sounds the same as it did at the start on my end.
Yeah, it's chirping and clicking and popping the whole way through. Not good at all.
Well, it is important we should mention anyway that this is what's going to be a shorter episode.
Oh, yeah.
It is a Monday afternoon. We should have a more full-length episode, assuming we can figure out technologically what we like to do over here, coming to you next week in addition to the next Fast Five. So, now what do we think on how long this thing is we're going to do it this way?
Did you hear that, by the way?
No, I didn't even hear it.
Oh.
It didn't even filter down the pipe.
I started playing the outro music.
Oh, that's not the first time you played it over my talking, so I'm not surprised.
That's why I was like, man, he's getting really good at ignoring it.
Now, the social distancing thing has been extended to April 30. Now, Steve, what is your anticipation? How long you and I will be trying to do this podcast remotely?
Well, if it sounds as bad as it does to me right now, like every time, I'll see you on Saturday sitting right across this table from me.
Listen, we can do it maybe front window. I'll park out front.
Oh, yeah.
So we can at least see each other. We'll just drill a hole through the siding of your house, and we'll run the cables that we need to, and I'll sit outside.
Do you want to do we could do like a garage or driveway cast?
Yeah.
Like I'll sit in the garage. You sit 6 to 8 feet away, just out of reach.
Hopefully it's not as windy as it has been. You and I will be just beholden to whatever weather comes our way, whether it's 30-mile-an-hour gusts or sleet or 80-degree heat. So you don't know what you're going to get.
I got a better idea. I can sit at my dining room table, and you can sit in one of the chairs out on the deck.
All of your offers end up with me outside your house, not welcome in. Have you realized that?
Well, look, I mean, hey, it's the fate of the nation is in our hands. We don't want to be spreading this thing.
So again, the fate of the nation involves you comfortably at your dining room table, and me again outside your home in whatever elements there are.
Well, look, I mean, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to sacrifice.
What? And what a sacrifice that is, Steve. Before we close up shop here this week, I did want to recap the polls last week because these are my absolute favorite things that we do. The no context.
I have no recollection of what these were. From week to week, it's a surprise every time.
All right, Steve, last week, the first poll we talked about, and we're going to come back to this because I have some follow-ups before we wrap up as well today. Is Steve a jerk for wanting to buy 2x4s?
Okay, I remember this.
Steve, 81% of the audience said no.
All right.
Over 200 votes. 81% of the people said you are not a jerk for wanting to buy 2x4s. You mentioned at the top of this episode, concerns have gotten progressively worse as the coronavirus spreads. I don't know where you stand on that now. I'm to the point, Stephen, before I even get to the second poll, I kind of want to follow up on this. Where have you been this past week as you itch to undertake another project? Where are you at this last week now on APS 4.0?
Over the weekend, I wanted to go out. I had all of the stuff lined up, or at least a bunch of the supplies that I need. I had in my shopping cart, and I was going to do an online order, and then I could just show up and pick it up. But then I realized that, like, I had actual lumber on there, like 2x4s. They won't pull them for you.
Yeah, you still have to go pull the lumber, which is probably fine because you'd get there and you'd have a U-shaped 2x4, and yeah.
Yeah. Now, if they had the curbside pickup and they had all the stuff pulled for me, I would have had it all on Saturday. So
we need lumber delivery or curbside lumber pickup is what we need. Hear me out. I've got a better idea.
Oh, good.
A lot of construction has now been deemed non-essential in this state.
Yeah.
You and I are going to grab a couple of, I hear there's millions of extras. You and I grab a couple of surgical masks.
Mm-hmm.
And we go raid some construction sites.
Oh, yeah. I bet there's nobody.
Whatever lumber we need.
There's nobody watching those. I mean, they just all went home.
Listen, the new house down in the corner, whatever. It's not like they have security cameras set up. You and I, we pull the old 3 in the morning, couple surgical masks on, so we'll never be caught, and we can help contain the spread of COVID-19. You and I go grab some lumber, and we start making our way.
It's the responsible thing to do. I don't see any issue with it whatsoever.
Right? We don't want to be in the middle of a home improvement store. We can't have that. So I think we put that in our calendars this week, you and I, and we pulled that off. So you need curbside lumber pickup. Okay, because I was curious because I saw a photo yesterday. Looks like your wife is and you are amping up the crafts, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
At the home with your new crafting tool that we don't even have time to get into today. We're going to have to talk about all the arts and crafts we have in store next week. But this new arts and crafts tool is part of the reason that you are in talks of accelerating the APS 4.0 timeline.
Well, that, and I'm bored as hell. I realized Saturday I was perfectly fine being home all day, but yesterday I was going insane. I could not. I hated it. I hated every minute of it. By the way, if we don't get to the second poll and finish this episode within the next 1 second, I'm going to throw my headphones across the room because it sounds so bad. So bad.
And the second poll this week, Steve, a very important one. I have no idea how this came up. Is the blah sound that Dracula makes
blah
a laugh? And
I don't think it is.
A little over 150 votes, Steve, and 61% of the audience says yes.
Really?
And I feel like they're incorrect. I feel like that's incorrect. There's no way that's a laugh. I feel like that's like, I don't even know what it is, but I feel like it's almost a Dracula announcement that he's here. Like, hey, I'm here. Blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah. Blah, 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 blah. Does he do that? Does he do blah, blah, blah? Is that a thing?
I don't think so. I think we made that
Jesus. The Dracula blah, 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 blah.
See? Yeah, that's not a laugh.
No, it's not a laugh. 61% of our audience is just wrong.
Yeah.
Jesus.
You're just stupid. You're just dumb. All right. Well, we have to wrap this up because, A, it sounds awful. You may not be able to hear how awful it sounds, but trust me when I say that the live feedback in my headphones sounds terrible.
Well, hopefully this comes down the pipeline properly and we can continue to do this way. Otherwise, Steve, I'll see you Saturday.
Yeah. There may be video of this on our YouTube channel. Don't know. All depends on how it looks. Kyle, I'm hitting the outro music now, which apparently you can't hear.
Oh, I hear it now.
Hey, there we go. It's a little pulse rock from our buddy Kevin MacLeod.
Kevin and the MacLeods. Classic.
All right, so we will talk to you next week. Is there a sports take coming this week?
Oh, jeez.
Come on, look at it. I mean, there's so much. So I guess that's a no.
We'll talk draft in coming weeks, but we're still a month away. What the heck am I going to talk about? If this guy from Stedman University can, play defensive tackle at a 3-4, get the hell out of here.
Come on, I want to hear your takes on where Cam Newton and Jameis Winston end up.
Agency. What a whirlwind. How are we even doing doctors' physicals right now? I don't even understand how they can properly do it.
I like the self fade. It worked out perfectly. All right.
What?
At Stephen Kyle, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We will talk to you next week.